Here is our guest star. She is back again. Please welcome again the wonderful Lockhart.
Cassie's mother and Beaver's father.
How long had it been since you saw that?
I never saw it. And I realized in the middle of it, I never ever saw this film.
My goodness.
And there were some extraordinary things that came back to me. You know that gray suit with the pinstripes, the little stripes on it that I wore through most of the time. Is this close enough? You can all hear me?
Yeah.
All the wardrobe was off the rack, you know, they didn't go out and buy anything special. And that suit, I had been to a fitting, and it was much too big for me. The skirt was out here, the jacket wasn't too bad, but the skirt was very loose. And so we put it on, and it was really falling down. And of course, they're all ready to shoot. And so I said, well, anybody got any safety pins? The wardrobe had pins. I said, let's just pin it to the blouse, or pin it to my underpants, which is what we did. So the skirt, and I remember the producer, I guess it was Ben Stoloff, said to me later, I don't know of another actress in town who would have done that and just go on anyway. Well, you don't hold up production, and I thought if there were enough safety pins in town, we'd just go on. And of course, I had to wear it sequence after sequence after sequence, with all those safety pins every time. You mentioned that John Alton and Tony Mann went on. I did one line in a Tony Mann movie.
T-Man.
T-Man.
Right.
And the line was, no, that's not my husband. My husband's taller and much better looking. And he shot it at Farmer's Market. And, excuse me for a moment here. And,
I think your husband, that was Alfred Ryder, if I'm not
indeed.
mistaken.
Yes, Alfred Ryder. And I digress because I got to tell you this story. Anyway, we did T-Man, I think, before we did this. Or maybe T-Man was after. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They were both done pretty close together.
Same year.
And yes, because after this I went to Broadway and had a really neat debut. And won the Tony and the Associated Press Woman of the Year in Drama and the Theatre World Award and a couple other awards. And it was really just quite a debut. I was sort of that year's ingenue. And a young man came to see the show. And he said, I was on script. I was working on the script and around the set when you shot that scene at Farmer's Market. And he said, after you had done the scene and done the one line and turned and walked away, Tony Mann said, cut, and turned and said to the cinematographer, what am I supposed to do when they send me down these lousy contract actresses? And this guy said, I was so thrilled when your reviews came out for Love or Money, which was the name of the play. And I just hope that Tony Mann realized what he had, even though it was only one line.
Did you ever have a chance to work with Tony again?
No, never. I think he thought I was singularly untalented. Anyway, so we get to this film. And Hallowell had a quick review of this film, and he said, it was a complex mystery which might have been worthy of a grade A production. I thought that was rather interesting. And you mentioned that the producer was Charles Reisner. The writer, Karen DeWolf, later went on and wrote How to Marry a Millionaire and films and 4 shows. She did a lot of shows for live TV. Now, let's talk about the director, Bernard Vorhaus. He was born in New York City. He was a Harvard graduate, and for a long time he lived in the United Kingdom. He gave David Lean his first job as a film cutter, and Lean said that it was the greatest influence in my life. In 1936, while he was shooting a scene on the Austrian side of the Zugspitze mountain, the film company had Austrian ski guides for them. And they were shooting on the German side. They were in Austria on the German side of the Zugspitze. And German soldiers suddenly appeared. They crossed over to the Austrian side and demanded the Austrian skiers be turned over to the Germans. In other words, they were capturing them. So the Austrian guides split and skied away under much German gunfire. A bullet grazed Bernard's face, but left no permanent damage. And from that moment on, he became anti-Nazi and pro-Russian. And he started working with pro-communist organizations for years and years. And that continued, and eventually led to his being outed by Edward Dmytryk to the House Un-American Activities Committee, and ended his career.
Interestingly, Vorhaus, a colleague of mine, Patrick McGilligan, went back and interviewed Vorhaus, I think in the late 80s, early 90s, and he almost made it to 100. I think he was in his late 90s when he passed away. When he was basically forced out of films, as you so eloquently documented there, he ended up living in England and refurbishing houses. And he ended up refurbishing houses, and Patrick went back and interviewed him, and he was a very, very interesting man. He wrote his memoirs at the age of, like, in his mid-90s. A volume was published, but he was quite an extraordinary man, and he was a very, very talented director. One of the films he did while at Eagle Lion, which I think is really extraordinary, that Eddie and I showed, is The Spiritualist with Turner Bay and Lynn Barry. I think we showed it here, as a matter of fact, a great film. So,
Well, that's another one I never
yeah,
seen.
but a very fine director.